countdown Columbus Day headlines, and surprise, new documentary analyzing his DNA shows it looks like Columbus was not from Italy, that he was a Sephardic Jew, probably from Spain. This actually matters today because if Columbus were here right now, Trump has just revealed he would send him to a concentration camp or deport him. Trump's anti-immigrant, specifically anti-Hispanic, hate speech has now climaxed with a promise to invoke the same law that permits the president in wartime to arrest and detain or deport without a hearing and without evidence of crime American citizens and others at his personal whim based on their race. Not where they were born, not whether they have committed or have been suspected of a crime, not whether they are here legally or not, based on their race. The last time we did this, it was with Japanese Americans, citizens. This time, Trump is aiming to open concentration camps and fill them principally with Hispanics. Trump in California, and then Trump in Colorado.
I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. But if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. 10 years. And if that doesn't work, it'll be 20 years. And if that doesn't work, I guess it's going to be the death penalty, right? The death penalty. Elite squads of ICE, Border Patrol, and federal law enforcement officers to hunt down, arrest, and deport every last illegal alien gang member until there is not a single one left.
Elite squads. Now, where in history did he find that phrase? Oh, in the book of Hitler speeches kept by his bedside. It will make no difference to Trump, newly self-installed as dictator, that the Alien Enemies Act was designed and has only been used as a wartime measure. The last time this country did use it, in one of the most shameful episodes in our history, they rounded up the Japanese. Nearly all that lived in the continental United States, nearly none of them accused of crimes, nearly all of whom had been born here. And you were Japanese if you were 1/16th Japanese. Now, Trump has directed this weapon in peacetime against a population of people who are statistically more law-abiding than Republicans in elected office, more law-abiding than any demographic of native-born Americans. Others will be swept up later. The first time he ran, Trump's ire was directed principally at Muslims and those of Arabic descent. We have seen him attack, quote, the blacks. He went after Jewish Americans again last week. His most recent targets were fully documented Haitian immigrants. But make no mistake, Trump went to California, where he stands no chance of winning the state's electoral college votes, in order to tell his fellow white supremacists there, who have for 200 years or more harbored bitter, irrational, inherited rage at people of Mexican and other Latin descent, to tell them to get their applause when he says that he will imprison and deport and intentionally or inadvertently or both kill the Hispanics. The latest New York Times Siena poll shows that among Hispanic voters, Harris leads Trump by only 54-36. Mike Podhorzer, the recently retired political director of the AFL-CIO, now an advisor there, explains that this poll number, this suicidal poll number, 54-36 Harris, is just what you think it is. Quoting Podhorzer, when we do focus groups with the segment of Latinos that are answering survey questions saying that they're comfortable with mass deportation, what comes out quickly is nobody's told them that things like the Alien Enemies Act gives Trump the personal right to send to concentration camps or expel from this country not criminals, not suspects, not undocumented immigrants, not gang members, not rapists, not murderers, but them. You, personally. Then, says Podhorzer, you explain. Trump will have the right to expel your wife, your kids, you, and no lawyer or court can stop him. You will not even get a hearing. What happens then? Again, quoting Podhorzer. That focus group flips. You bet your ass it does. And how did they not know this going in? How do the 36% of Hispanic voters supporting Trump and his plans to expel, intern, or kill them, how do they not know they are voting for their own expulsion, imprisonment, even death? Podhorzer says the media has utterly failed to explain how dictatorially Trump plans to use things like the Alien Enemies Act. They don't, as he notes, work it into daily coverage of the campaign, even though Trump does work it into daily coverage. He said it twice and posted it once just this past weekend. But it's not just the media. How, Podhorzer wanted to know, could Vice President Harris have done a town hall on the Univision network last Thursday and never brought this up? The good news is all polling indicates that Hispanic support for Trump is not that firm and appears to have reached its peak. It is not growing. And the vice president needs to have a campaign ad up as soon as possible in which she speaks directly to camera and lays this out. And she must say, are you Hispanic? Did you know Donald Trump will invoke a law that allows him to put you in a concentration camp because you are Hispanic? Or to deport you? Or to deport your wife or your children without a trial, without a hearing? This is not about the border or criminals. We can fix those things. What we cannot fix is Donald Trump is a racist who wants to imprison you for being Hispanic. And by the way, the definition of Hispanic is whatever Donald Trump says it is. A reminder that Pastor Niemöller was as ever correct. First, they came for the Hispanics. Who knows who will be next for Trump, but he has now turned this election into a referendum, simply put, on whether or not only white people will be living here. Period.
I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
And if you are still harboring suspicions that Trump is just talking about elite squads and indemnifying the police and using the military domestically, here's a quick reading from the new Bob Woodward book, confirming something long reported, rumored, presumed. Quote, Trump would not or could not let his stolen election mantra go. In June 2021, the former president pushed Republicans to support reinstating him as president. He told his aides he would move back into the White House by August, a date QAnon conspiracy theorists had latched onto in online forums. Quote, he had an army for Trump. He wants that back. Brad Parscale, Trump's former campaign manager, said privately in July. I don't think he sees it as a comeback. He sees it as vengeance. Trump phoned Republican Representative for Alabama Mo Brooks, a staunch Trump supporter, and asked him to publicly call for a special election to reinstate him as president. Brooks, who had supported the plan by Trump, and conservative lawyer John Eastman to challenge the certification of Biden's win, pointed out that Joe Biden was president. Brooks said Biden's victory had been certified and there was no legal pathway for Trump to rescind it. The Constitution provided no mechanism to reinstate a president. Trump, Woodward writes, was enraged. He later withdrew his endorsement of Brooks in the Alabama Senate race. Brooks lost in the Republican primary. This is who we are dealing with. Are you Hispanic? Are you 1/16th Hispanic? Do you know anyone who is 1/16th Hispanic? If so, this advice, pack or help them pack. This is what is planned. If there is good news on this Trump campaign of hate and death and racism and vengeance, it's that even the New York Times has noticed. It reports that 2 weeks ago, last night, Trump railed at his own donors for not giving him enough money to help him turn this country into his personal property. Quoting the New York Times, he disparaged Vice President Kamala Harris as, quote, retarded, unquote. He complained about the number of Jews still backing Ms. Harris, saying they needed their heads examined for not supporting him despite everything he had done for the state of Israel, unquote. If there is more good news on the Trump campaign of hate and death, it's that even Politico noticed. Quote, we watched 20 Trump rallies. His racist, anti-immigrant messaging is getting darker. They wimp out because, of course, because American news has lost the plot. American news has lost the realization that it is a reporter's job to stick his head out the window and say it's raining, not to call around until you find somebody else to say it for you who you can quote, just in case. Politico again, quote, it's a stark escalation over the last month of what some experts in political rhetoric, fascism, and immigration say is a strong echo of authoritarians and Nazi ideology. I didn't say that. I'm just quoting. I called a guy. He told me that. My God, stand for something. Stand for something before you are prevented from doing so. Stand for something before Trump cuts your legs off. Or before Trump decides the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 can be applied not just to ethnicities, but to industries. And he decides his next target with the Alien Enemies Act is journalist Americans. Even those who get this don't really get it. Andrew Ross Sorkin of CNBC literally said he prayed that the impact of the election on the news industry as a financial matter would be taken out of the equation of how the media should cover the election. Even he said that, and even he still got the basic part of this wrong. This is from a Mediaite podcast called Press Club.
I'm going to be excoriated for this answer.
Keep it rolling.
I would bet, from a pure just media eyeballs readership way measure, that, and this is what I think Jeff Zucker might have said.
Or a certain CBS News chief who will not be named.
Might have said.
Les Moonves.
Was it Les who said this?
I think it was Les who said.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Where I'm going is not good.
CBS News?
Where I'm going is not good. My point is, yes, I think people are fascinated by former President Trump. And so if you're asking me strictly on that basis, what it portends for the next 4 years of the media business?
It's a boon.
It might be. It might be. I pray that I think we should take that equation out of how anybody is supposed to think about this stuff, though.
Right. Andrew, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have I gotten fired for doing this?
All of the coverage of those comments by Sorkin make them sound simultaneously more nightmarish than they are and less nightmarish because he didn't say he was in favor of Trump being elected because it would be good for business. But he also doesn't realize he's wrong on that point. He's wrong. He's wrong on it being good for anybody's business. He's wrong on the economics, and he's an economics guy. He doesn't see it. The networks don't see it. The corporations that own the networks don't see it. Reporters don't see it. A Trump victory would not be some kind of boon to the media industry. It would be the end of the media industry. There is a false assumption, even in somebody like Sorkin of CNBC, that somehow the cataclysm Trump would inflict on groups he does not like, Hispanics, Jews, blacks, critics, that would never touch the media industry. Okay, there'd be dark, frightening changes, but they'd never, ever touch the profits at CBS. Why, they might be a boon. Trump says he wants to cancel CBS's license to do news. And he said all the others' licenses. All the others means all the others. NBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Daily Beast, Fox, iHeartPodcasts. All means all. That none of them have licenses means nothing to Trump, as reality means nothing to Trump. There aren't really news licenses? Okay, I'm creating news licenses, Mr. Sorkin. And guess what? You're not getting one. Go look up what happened to broadcasting and newspapers when Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. Oh, he's a much more interesting character for us to cover. Oh, our industry was just nationalized. A boon, you say. Still, if you are panicking, stop, deep breathe, and get to work. The 538 average of polls is Harris 2.4. On September 24th, the 538 average of polls was Harris 2.4. On September 11th, it was Harris 2.4. On August 12th, it was Harris 2.3. Pennsylvania, per the New York Times poll, Harris 50, Trump 47, Harris by 3. Or with the third parties in Pennsylvania, Harris by 4. Or as longtime Republican strategist Matt Dowd noted yesterday, NBC has the race tied right now. NBC also had the race tied at this point in 2012. Romney tied with Obama. Right now, ABC has Harris by 2 and CBS has Harris by 3. In 2012, CBS had Obama by 2 and ABC had Obama by 3. You want to worry about something? Worry about somebody in Harris's campaign letting up on the gas of we're not going back and I know Donald Trump's type. You want to do ads on the economy? Go for it. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but go for it in addition to, not in lieu of, the apocalyptic anti-Trump ads. He just says he wants to invoke the law that let them put the Japanese in internment camps, only he's going to use it on Hispanics. Madam Vice President, if your advisors won't wake up every voter in every minority demographic with that, if they won't let you to ask voters, are you next? Does Trump want to put your family in a concentration camp? Fire all of your advisors right now. Also, J.D. Vance is a fountain of anti-Trump ads. Use him. Of course, Vance is going to refuse to say he'd have certified the 2020 election. That's how he got this job. Of course, he's going to refuse to say Trump lost. But in his rush to do that, he said January 6th was just, quote, a few knuckleheads went off and did something they shouldn't do. That's not on Trump, that's on them, unquote. Vance just contradicted a cardinal tenet of the Trump Nazi Party, that the January 6th insurrectionists were patriots and martyrs and heroes acting for America, and Trump will pardon them all. Vance just called them knuckleheads who had nothing to do with Trump. Smother Vance with this soundbite. And to close on a lighter note, every Vance condescending, racist, Dunning-Kruger effect wisecrack about Kamala Harris blows up in his face, wipes the eyeliner off his eyes every single time. But some are so spectacular that they require that some kind of hall of fame be built to house Vance's vast, undulating, radiant ability to find every rake on every lawn in America and step on it.
We didn't tell him beforehand. There's nobody in his ear, no cute earrings. There's nothing like that.
No.
So I'm just reminding everybody that this is all organic, okay?
I left my Bluetooth earrings at home, so.
Can't find your earrings, JD. Did you look in the couch? Did you look Did you look between the couch cushions? Back with a full countdown tomorrow. For now, I'm Keith Olbermann. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and good luck.